Hello everyone, welcome to the InitPals Meetup group. So we are a group of developers and architects who are very passionate about technology. We share our thoughts as blog post at sharepointpals.com and initpals.com. The SharePoint Pals portal is more focused on SharePoint and related technologies, but InitPals is not targeted on any specific technology. You are free to write about any technology over there. So everyone are welcome to join as authors. All the key topics that we have covered so far in our meetup is available in our YouTube channel. If you like the content, please subscribe to our channel to show your support and also to get notified when new content is released. Right. So this session on transition from developer to an architect would be taken by Pandurangan. Pandurangan is a multi-talented architect who is into software industry for more than 20 years, out of which for more than 10 years, he was into architecting solutions for high critical business applications for leading companies. He is a TOGAF certified enterprise architect who is also an AWS certified solution architect and an certified SAFe architect. His core technical strengths include Java, Angular, Node.js, Python, Docker, and Kubernetes. He is an expert in setting up DevOps pipeline for enterprise applications. Okay. So this is the high level agenda for this session. The first 5 minutes would be the introduction and the next 15 minutes on the key drivers for transition from developer to the architect. Then he would be covering about the architecture and its importance and the skills that are expected from an architect. Then for the next 30 minutes, he would be spending on step-by-step process on architecture and would be covering the solution architecture basis for 10 minutes. The last 10 minutes would be dedicated for Q&A. Now Pandu would be continuing.
So as Ashok said in the initial about the InitPals, this is to share our architecture experience and then our learnings and best practices that we get and what are all the do's and don'ts, and also to provide the guidance for aspiring architects. The targeted audience, designers and developers. So any developers, full stack developer, full stack developers, and then front end, back end developers all, and aspiring architects in different domains, maybe data or business, anywhere, anything else. And the key takeaway will be like at the end of the session, like we just make sure that you understand the importance of architecture and then understand what are all the architecture skills, and with that, how do you perform your self-assessment, and then the step-by-step understand what are the step-by-step process of the architecture, and you can take your own problem statement as an assignment and our own interest, and you can just follow these steps and then you can derive with the functional architecture. Okay, and then the final thing is to understand the basics of the solution architecting, and we feel that at the end of the session you will be ready to start your architecting journey. There will be some ambiguity, and then there will be a fear for the developers about switching to architect role and leading the team with respect to technical solution, other thing. So we just want to address all those things and then give you a comfortness and then the confidence to have yourself ready to start your architecting journey. Yeah, next slide, Ashok. Yeah, so there may be key drivers. Maybe it is up to you. So what is that driving you to transform from a developer to an architect? Mainly, if you think like the organization need, the one of the objective of this training is to, there is a demand for architects in the industry. So and also organization need architect. And then for you, there may be a need for a career growth, and then you set up your thing and then keep moving. And there may be a few other things, maybe you can identify and you can just note down. Yeah, next slide, show. So yeah, so when we are saying about the architecture path, right? So these are all the things. If you see, I just mentioned about the years, number of years of experience we have. So we start as a programmer, trainee programmer. Maybe in anything, maybe in a programming or in a support, we start as a support, production support engineer, or with the database and other things. Like this course is about the solution architecture with the application development. So we just consider this for the full stack developer and front end developer, and then the back end developer. Technology may be anything. It can be Java or Angular in front end. Back end it can be Node or Java. And some point of time, maybe after 1 or 2 years experience, you will be converted automatically. You will be converted as a full stack developer, where you will be familiar with the presentation and then the API layer, right? Some point of time, like when you say full stack developer, you also will be familiar with the DBs, database, whatever database, whether it is MySQL or SQL Server, anything, you'll be familiar with that, and we will be working on the ORM and other thing. Will be familiar with that. After that, like you will be switching to a role called full stack architect or application architect. This is what our target of this thing is about. Not like everywhere we'll be having a full stack architect, but as per the agile standard, what they say is like in every sprint, it is recommending to have a full stack architect along with a team of 5 or 6 developers. Okay, then you have a solution architect, and then enterprise architect, and chief architect, and then CTO. This is the path I want you to just show, so that it gives you some motivation, other thing. And also you can see there are other roles. Even though this is for the solution architect with application development for the full stack architect, so there may be a transition for the data engineer to become a cloud architect, or a cloud engineer, sorry, data engineer to become a data architect. Cloud engineer can become a cloud architect, and even the business analyst can become a business architect, and UX developer or designer as a UX architect. Next slide, Ashok. You note down all your questions with respect to the slides. We will discuss in detail. So this is the thing. This is the one when I attended one of my PMI session. So it was for the transformation at organization level, at program level, at portfolio level. But I found that this is relevant, and it can be used for any transformation. Okay, so if you see any transformation, so these are all the key elements. Like we need to have a vision, and we need to have a pressure, and then we need to have a capability. Capability team here, you can also see like capable or friendly team, or like the friendly environment in your organization. You can just consider like that. And then you should have a review, and then you should have a proper recognition. Only if you follow these things, right? So we will be able to succeed in our transformation. And this is applicable for anything. Even if you want to have a six-pack, right? So I need to have everything. I need to have a vision, and I need to have a pressure, and I need to have a capable team. Means like I need to have a gym master, I need to have the environment to do gym regularly, and I need to have a review. I need to review regularly, and I need to have recognition. Unless otherwise I get recognized by others and they appreciate me, I will not be able to do that. In the below, if you see, if you don't have a vision at this thing, right? If you don't have a vision, so what will happen is we will have a confusion. We'll have ambiguity, and then we'll not be able to proceed at all. We have a vision, and if you don't have a pressure, so we will not be caring about that. There won't be any interest, and it will not be able to proceed. So if you don't have a vision, we should set up a vision. Whatever is not there, we need to set up. Even for this context, right? Architect. So I need to set up a vision. Okay, I need to become an architect in 1 or 2 years. You start like associate architect, and then the architect, senior architect. I need to set up a vision. And if I don't have a pressure, maybe some will have a pressure from organization side. You may have a pressure from your managers that if you have to, because lack of architects, you need to become an architect. So you will have, if you don't have, you yourself commit to your managers saying that, okay, I'll become an architect, and automatically you create a pressure, and you will be proceeding. And you have vision, and you have pressure within you, and if you don't have a team, then you will have a execution will get failed. You'll have a failed execution, right? So what you need to do, like you need to get involved with respect to this context. You need to get involved with your architect team or the architecture competencies, and you have to take care of the architecture activities. You have to involve, and then you need to form a team. And even the juniors of you should have form a team with them, and then you need to form. And then you need to have a review. I have a vision, pressure, I have a team, and if I'm not reviewing, and if I'm not set the review as a process, I'll be going in a wrong direction. So we need to have a review process. With this context, you need to have like your managers or your lead architect to get it reviewed. Are you going in the right direction with respect to the architecture transformation? you have vision, pressure, capable team, and then the review. And if it is not recognized, there is no self-motivation. So of course you will be getting a recognition. If it is not recognized, then if you're not getting recognized, which means that you are not exposing yourself. You need to expose yourselves, and you have to proactively get involved different activities, architectural activities, and other thing. So you'll get a recognition. This is the common thing. So I just want to share this to you so that it will help you for your transformation plan. Next slide, Ashok. You note down your questions, we'll discuss.
Okay, so give me a second,
Yeah.
Pandu. So
Yeah.
I'll just swap the screen.
Okay.
I think this is the updated one. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Okay. So next section. So we'll see what is architecture. Most of you would be knowing. So let us discuss on with respect to the construction thing. So most of the place, like we'll be comparing the software architect with our building the construction architecture. So suppose if I want to architect a small pet house, that is a dog house, I can do that. I can do that. Only thing is, like, I have to decide on the material, whether I need to do it in concrete or I need to do it in a steel or a sheet or anything, right? So that doesn't require much. It's not much complex. It's very simple, and it requires minimal modeling. Sometimes modeling also not required, and it has a simple process, and it has very simple tool. And the team also, like one carpenter or one engineer can build, one or two people can build. Next slide. Next, if I want to build a luxurious bungalow, okay, so it is not as simple as architecting a dog house, right? So it need to be built most efficiently, and time will take, and we need to have a different team. You can see here swimming pool. For building the swimming pool itself, like we need to have a separated team, and then there are more facilities in inside the bungalow you need to have, and then you also need to have some powerful tools to build that, right? Next slide, Ashok. And if you want to build architect a high-rise building, right? This is very complex. It need to be well architected, and then you need to have a number of architects on that, and then you have different teams, and then you need to have a complex tools, and time it will take more, and it's very complex. Next slide. So what is the difference? What is the difference? We have seen the dog house, and then the bungalow, and then the high-rising building. What is the difference? The difference is in the purpose. So what is the purpose, and also in the volume. What is the volume? And then what is the complexity? And what is the cost? And what is the timeline? Right? The more complex buildings we build, we need systems, tools, experts, etc. Okay. That is why we need architecture, and it differs. Okay. Yeah, next slide. Sure. Okay. So this is what is architecture. Now we will just come to the software architecture context. Okay. So I'll just explain about this thing. It is the structure of. So this is the definition. I have just took, and I'm just modified to make it simple. This is a structure of system which comprises the software elements, the externally visible properties of those elements, and it has the architecture, and the architecture defines elements of the relationships, and means it has different elements. It defines the relationship. Elements are the components, and it defines the relationship. And then systems has more than one structure which collectively for the architecture, and every software systems can be provided by an architecture, and behavior of the elements is part of the architecture as long as the behavior can be pursued by another elements. Next slide. And the architecture emphasizes the set of significant decisions about the organization of a software system when we go with enterprise architecture and other things, right? Because every organization will have the separate thing. And then the selection of the structural elements and their interfaces by which system is composed, and behavioral as specified in collaboration among those elements, composition of those structure and then behavioral elements into larger systems. Architectural style that guides the organization. You will have an architectural style for everything. Say, for example, like if I want to build a mobile application, we will have our architecture style for that. If I want to build a web, I'll have a separate architecture style for that, and it differs from organization to organization. Okay, next slide, Ashok. So what is the importance of architecture? Why are we giving that much importance to the architecture? Because like we have the early design decisions, like we just create the blueprint of that. We understand what is the current pain points and what is the current process and how do we design for the future. And then it is a transferable abstraction. It represents the capitalist investment, an abstract reusable model that can be transferred from one system to the next system. There are like a reference model available for different thing. So we have that as part of our organization, and we can have that one. And it's a vehicle for communication. So like before we build a complex, even if you see the building example, right, the high-rise building example, before we do that, we would be creating a miniature in the sense the model of that. So that for building that itself, we need to do a lot of analysis and then the study, and then we build to make the business or the end users to visualize and what is the thing. That's why we have architecture description. We'll be using UML and other thing for notation, and that's why we say it's a vehicle for communication. The software architecture forms the backbone for building successful software intensive system. Yeah, the right architecture is the key player for software project success. The wrong one is the recipe for disaster. Yeah, if the project gets fail or something, the blame will be with the architecture. So if the more we understand the problem, so we can provide the correct architecture. Next slide. So what are all the challenges we have? These are all very few. Maybe there are more challenges. So now if you see the business model itself is changing, right? So even now in COVID situation, the business models are changing. And earlier and all, if you see like we build a software and we design and build and implement, and we just make sure that it works for 10 years. So later, after some time, like we just make sure that it will work for 5 years. Now, like it changes, right? Because it's not only because of the technology, it's because of the business model. Business model changes, and then we need to have the architecture in that way. Okay, and then the technology is changing even faster. I told that. And then the development effects are split across different teams and vendors. So that is also one of the thing. And with that, like how can IT department satisfy these fluid requirements? And means like there are different teams located in different location. And if you see somewhere like the architect will be done by the different team or different vendors, and it will not be properly transferred to the development team. So those are all the challenges. So this is our responsibility to like address this. How we can do is like we can have a proper review and then assessment, and the thing we can do that. And there are more challenges too. Okay. Yeah. Next slide. Sure. I'm seeing some questions, but I couldn't concentrate that. So we will discuss in the end of the session. Okay. So in the importance of architecture, like whatever the software we build, right? So even if it is a mobile application or a web, or even if it is the ATM software, the software has these forces. You can see the cost compatibility and fault tolerance and the throughput. And if you see, key thing here is like the technology churn I told you about right earlier, like it was like 10 years and then 5 years. Now we couldn't even plan for 2 years. So every 1 year technology change, and then we need to update. And then the resilience. So the main difference between the fault tolerance and resilience is like fault tolerance. Like if you have if the software has the multiple components, and if any one component, one or two components fails, there will not be any impact. So business will continue, and then operations will continue. Resilience means like if something fails, like you will have the impact, but how quick you are just bringing the application up is the resilience. Okay, fail safe throughput is how you transfer the data from one system to other, how much data you are saving, and then availability. So these are all the things like so architect, we just take care of this as part of the QoS, quality of service, or we call non-functional requirements. Yeah, next slide, Ashok. We are 50 minutes past. Okay, so we will quickly talk about architecture skills. So these are all the skills, technical skills and leadership skills and management skill. Next slide, Ashok. So here I've explained about. So it's not that the architecture skills that you need to only gain when you are when you want to do architectural or when you are transforming to architect. No. So you are keep on gaining these skills starting from the beginning, like when you start as a trainee programmer, and there are skills, and you can see like the something like ORM, another thing, like even the full stack and then front end and front end back end developer will be knowing. I just put a generic thing, and it differs to person to person, and then to organization also. So if you see two things, right, full stack architect and the solution architect, we can combine that together also. Like if you see all the skills that we mentioned here, like if you have not gained, or if you have not worked on any of these things when you are playing a full stack developer or a front end back end developer, you have to take care of this one. To mention few, under solutions architect, I was mentioning about the non-functional requirements. You need to know how do we capture non-functional requirements, because business will not take care of, they will not be focusing on the non-functional requirements like security, performance, and other thing, availability, and other thing, right? So they'll be only focusing on the functional requirements. And finally, like when it goes to production, then they'll be saying that. So it is architect's responsibility to capture the non-functional requirements. And like I have the other one on the cloud platform, like, you know, right, if you're not if you don't have any experience of any of the clouds like AWS, Azure, or GCP, so it is better for an architect to get experience in that, because like you, with that, you will be using a lot of services that cloud provider provides, and then you can also have your environment set to start your pilot and other. Okay, so there are other things like DevOps, and another thing, you need to have a management skills and a leadership skills also. Management skills also required for architect to like the conflict management, and like the resource management, and then the vendor management. Vendor management is required. So when you work on any of the solution options, like there may be like you need to make a decisions or make or buy. So for any of the tools or any of the frameworks, like if you just want to work with the vendors, you need to have a skill to handle that. Next slide, Ashok. So for you, like I have just mentioned about the study materials. So if you see, there is you can just Google and search 96 things every software architect should know, and then software architect in practice, this book you can just read. And then when I was studying about the architecture, like we also should know like how do we do architecture in Agile, right? So you can go and refer the safe, lean, agile principles, and it has the architecture principles. I think like it has like some 14 or 15 principles, and you can go with online courses wherever you want to learn whatever skills you are lagging, and you can work on that. And certifications, like it depends. Like the first thing is like from as a developer, like if you're working on Java or Node or Python, just start with your thing with respect to the DB also, like you can do any of the certification so that you just bit familiar with all the concepts. And for this is the platform. So if you're working on AWS, there are architect certification and AWS you can work, and GCP, Google Cloud also they have, and Azure also they have. Other cloud providers also they have. Whatever the cloud that you are working, you can take the certification. And TOGAF is for the enterprise architecture. It is the enterprise architecture framework. So you can also learn and take. So how do you gain architecture experience? Like this is, you have to volunteer. Like maybe some may get opportunity in your organization, some may not. You will be sticking to one project for more than 1 or 2 years. So you have to just switch your project and then volunteer and then get involved into the architecture activities. So you work with your architecture team, proactively go and take some architecture activities from them, and then you get involved. Okay, yeah, next slide. So yeah, this is what I told, like you can do a self-assessment, whatever the architecture skills I have mentioned in my previous slides, you can list down. And if you feel something is missed with respect to your organizations or your tech stack, you can add that. And then you can do a assessment. You can rate yourself like 1 to 5, and then you can have a spider chart, and then you will where is the gap, and you can upskill, you can plan to upskill. And you also get self or you just trained and then mentored by your seniors. You just go and talk to your seniors and then ask them for the mentorship, and then you get involved practically and keep you skilled. Okay, yeah, next slide. I think we have only. Okay, so these are all the architecture types. I was telling about the architect roles. If you see, maybe there may be a confusion. What are all the architectures are available? Those are all the roles which I mentioned, like business architect, and then the business architect, and then the data architect. I think if you see at the enterprise level, this is what the TOGAF is also mentioning. So we have 4 architects: business architecture types, business architecture, application architecture, and the data architecture and the technology architecture. Business architecture deals with the business processes and then the organization chart and the people and the thing. Application architecture, it depends about the services and then the system. Data architecture, it depends about the information architecture and the data architecture. Technology architecture depends about the hardware, software, and networking. The thing. Yeah, next slide, Ashok. So this is the key thing. We'll see like whether I will be able to complete. Okay, so I just want to explain you about, like, if you want to do architecture. So and just for learning purpose for the beginners, these are all the 10 steps I can just walk you through. Means like the first thing is like you need to understand the business requirement and then identify the context, identify the external interfaces, and then identify functional building blocks. So when we build architecture, right? So we build architecture component for the business building blocks, and where business building blocks comes from the functional building blocks. This is how we do. So for which we need to identify the functional building blocks, and then work on the important points we will see, and then identify the required common functionalities, and then identify internal interfaces, and then you regroup and differentiate setup, identify. We'll go one by one. Next slide, Ashok. See, this is the thing. Like first, we need to understand the business requirement or the problem statement. So I've just given a very simple problem statement as a sample. So if you see, like there is a one of the famous colleges called ABC College, we can call it as ABCC, is facing challenges in managing and administration activities, especially due to the pandemic situation. The need to depend on vendors. So they have like communication portal and other things. So they need to depend on the vendors for different years, which means like they have to provide their students data to different vendors. And if they're changing the vendor, they need to have that one. So what they are planning is like the management has decided to build online college management application with the following features. They want to have a student registration, and then the fees payment, and then student parent portal, and admission. Okay. So application should be provided support to multiple devices, and I think these are the requirements. And then application should provide administrative functionality. Admin should be able to create student data and authenticate and registered students, which means the administration is happening in their own system. Okay, so they have their system called the college data management system. We call it as CDMS. So where they have all their college related data. Next slide, Ashok. So let us go with the step one. So understand the business requirement. Okay, so we call this as a ABCC online. So the goal of this application is to have the online admission, and then we need to have a student parents portal. The objective is to provide ability to students to apply online and they make the payment online. Yeah. Okay. Next slide, Ashok. So this is the thing, like whenever we just get the requirement, right? So we need to understand the pain points, and then what is the benefit that we are going to provide with our solution. Next slide, Ashok. So now step two. In step two, we need to identify the context of the system. Okay. So we need to understand the high level context of the system. If you see here, like we need to find two things. Who are all the users, and then what are all the external systems. Okay. So if you see, the users are administrator, and then the students and the parents. And external systems, if you see, we have a payment system, because we need to make a fees payment. They will be having a payment system. So there only they will be configuring their bank details and other thing. And then they have their college management data management system. Next slide, Ashok. So with that, you can draw architecture like this. This is a functional architecture. You have the CDMS, and then we have put the users and other thing, and then we have identified what is the scope and out of scope at high level. Because like we are not going to do anything with the payment system, we are not going to do anything with the CDMS, and we are going to only build the ABCC online. Next slide, Ashok. So next, you identify the external interfaces. So what you need to do for this, you follow these steps. Like you identify if the system and the entities on the same network, and then you need to identify the protocol for the information exchange. Means like how the data is transferred from one system to another, and then you map this information with the inside. This itself is an exercise. Like you need to have create a table, and then you need to do. But I couldn't present here as part of the time constraint. Maybe I'll show that in architecture diagram. Next slide, Ashok. So if you identify the interfaces, right? So this is what we can see. If you see the way we are identifying the external interface is to link with that to the users. We have the users, students, parents, and then the administrator, right? So if you see, we need to connect to the CDMS, for which we have an interface for CDMS, and for payment we have that interface, and then for students and parents we have like mobile and web. So here, since this is the functional, we will not put the protocol that HTTPS will be using. We will not have it in the functional thing. We just mention like web and mobile. And administrator also will be connecting to this one, and they will also using their internal thing. Next slide, Ashok. I think we have only 15 minutes. Okay. The next, so now we have identified the external interfaces. Now we'll identify what are all the functional building blocks. Okay. So you need to group the requirement, and then the identify requirement, and then update the architecture with the thing. So it has been updated. We'll just see the architecture. Next slide. So this is the thing. If you see, I have just added the functional building blocks. We have fee module, administration, and then the portal service. Portal service is the key thing that we'll be building. And then we need to have a profile settings. Profile setting means like, so when a parent is joining, like they need to have their things, like, and then the registration, and then we have the, yeah, these are all the things. Next slide, Ashok. So we are done with step 4, and this is the key thing. So if you see, like so far, like it is very simple. Now, like we need to see like what we need to do deep dive on the requirements to identify what are all the further required functionalities, right? Next slide, Ashok. So here, if you see, right, so we identified what are all the things. We also have a requirement to for the parents and students to send a SMS, and also like we have like web, and we need to support mobile and other thing. Like we just segregated the thing, right? We need to have a input output and then the gateway, and then we need to have a request processor and then the request response generator. That's why we split that thing into it. Next slide, Ashok. Again, this is the key thing, like for which you need to spend more time. So while you are discussing on the requirement, you may have like too many discussions, and you need to go that. Next one is you need to identify the required common functionalities, like logging, exception handling, and other thing. So if it is already available, you can use it. If you are developing the application, so you need to have this defined. Next slide, Ashok. So now the architecture is updated with the common functionalities like loggers and other exception handlers and other things. Next slide. So now we have identified external interfaces, means like the application which we are going to develop, what are the external interfaces. So but internally we have the communication, right? So we need to identify the internal interfaces. So interfaces between functional blocks, so we can trace the use case and you can identify. And for that, you need to know like what is the input and what is the direction. It is the unidirection or bidirection, and what is the output. Those things and all you need to identify. Again, this is also the not a simple thing. You need to have like, you can have a table. You can define a table where you can have the from to, and then what is the input, whether it's a dual communication or a single communication, and what are all the key data elements, those things and all you can have that. Now we'll update the architecture. Next slide, Ashok. So if you see, you can see, right? So this is internal communication, the number 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So you get the request, and then it goes to the request processor, and then portal service is the key component that we'll be developing. And then it goes to the profile setting, and then it connects to the CDMS interface, and it sends the response. And if there is an online payment, it goes to the payment module and it update the payment system that the college has. Next slide. Next slide, Ashok. So now this is the thing. Now we have identified the in external interfaces, and then the functional blocks, internal interfaces, and then everything, right? Now there are some activities that happens at setup time, and some has runtime time or the online thing, and then there are some thing that happens at the setup. The reason why we want to identify this is like, in order to take care of the performance requirement, right? So we need, if there are something that happens at setup blocks, right? So it may happen at one time, and then we need to plan separately. And if something happens at runtime blocks, like we need to consider the performance and other things. So if you see here, like setup blocks are the registration, and then the profile settings, and then the administrative activities that which the administrator will be doing. Okay, let's stop the all functional blocks or runtime blocks. Next slide, Ashok. So what I've done is like I've just explained that, and then I've just updated the architecture and shown. If you see, I would have separated this thing, right? So you have the ABC Online runtime, where you have this fees module, portal, and other thing. So, and if you see registration and then administration, right, and the portal setting, it will be as the setup time. Like the administrator will be doing the thing. But of course, administrator also can connect to the online application for some of the thing. But if you see, you will get the course detail and everything, sorry, the student detail, everything here, and then the administrator at setup time, they'll be reviewing it and they'll be registering it. Okay. Next slide, Ashok. So now we are almost done. Okay. So now we have already identified the in scope and out scope. So at high level, but further you are discussing on the requirement, right? So you need to have deep dive on the functionality, and then you need to identify what are the scopes, because there will be different applications, or there may be different maybe not in this example, but real time, like there may be other thing. One of the example what I can tell is like, okay, you are building it and then you want to do a migration. So is the data migration is part of the scope, or it is not part of the scope? This need to be discussed and then communicated. So while you are preparing this itself, right, so you need to have the assumptions and then the constraints and the risks. You need to have list everything, what are all your understanding, what are all your assumptions, what are all your risks, and what are the constraints. Then you have to present it, and it need to be confirmed. Next slide. Yeah, there is no much update. So if you find any of the thing, you can update it. The diagram 9 and 8, there is no difference. Next slide. So now we have done, and then we need to identify, is there any additional functionality that can be offered? So you know, see, there are sometimes like, it's not like we will be doing, as an architect, will be doing only what the business is asking. Sometimes like it's our responsibility to tell them like, okay, these are all the nice to have benefits that we can have. For example, they didn't ask about the reports. You can have that, or if you have any capability of analytics, you can add that, which the business is not considering. You can just tell them about the benefits and other thing. But of course, there should not be any gold plating. Like if they are asking for more the 800, we should not think about the other advanced thing, airbag and other things, right? So whatever is required, we need to do that one. Next slide, Ashok. So here also there is no change. So if there are anything that you feel, you can update that in this architecture, and you can present. So this is the final functional architecture that we have derived following the these 10 steps. You can take any of your to be familiar, you can take any of your own problem statement, and then you can follow these steps, and then you can just work for practice. Next slide, Ashok. So with that, we have done with that step-by-step process. Now I think this is the final topic. So now we have done with that functional architecture. Okay, so what is the next step is to have the solution architecture. So if you see here, we have not dealt with the technology. We just only understood the functionality, and then we got the thing. We have identified external interfaces, and then what is the protocols, and what are all the internal interfaces, and what is the flow, and what is the scope. We got everything, right? So now we need to have a document. These are all the three things we need to have. We need to prepare the documentation, the architecture artifacts, we can say. So you can have a solution blueprint or high level architecture and other thing. And then we need to have a technology selection. If you don't have technology selected in your organization, or it's somewhere like you'll be having the application framework defined, and then it will be the standard. So you need to follow, if this is the requirement, if this is the architecture style, if this, you need to use this framework. If this is the architecture style, you need to use this one, right? So that if you have, you will use. If not, you have to define your own. Then you need to have an architecture review. We'll see one by one in detail. Next slide, Ashok. Okay, documentation, you can define your own thing. So if it's a solution blueprint, you can define, and need not be lengthy document. You can define, and then you can give the instruction, everything, and whatever you capture. Maybe you may one more key thing is like you understand what is the current process. You have to go and get more detail and understand the current problem. They may be saying the problem, but what is that the process that they are following currently? You get whatever document they have, you have that, and just you add it here. If not, you just understand, and then you prepare a draft. Just a rough diagram, you can add that. Okay, and then architecture component, the functional building blocks, and then business building blocks, and architecture building blocks, interfaces, data element, You can have that, and then you need to have the selected technical solution. So I would have mentioned about the skills for in the solutions architect role. One of them thing is to identify the solution options. So any solution will not have only one options. You will be having a multiple options. You need to identify what are all the multiple options, and then we need to discuss with your team on understanding about you have to present like what are all the pros and cons of the options, and then you need to have a selection fitness. Like you there may be like you'll be having a technical fitness and business fitness and financial fitness. So you have to adhere to that, and then you have to present. Next slide. We have 4 minutes. Okay, I think we're on time. Okay, so review is very, very important. So like, see, if I do something, right, so for me it looks fine, so I have to, whatever the artifacts or whatever the things that I'm doing, right, so I need to have a reviewer. It need not to be the my senior. It can be my junior also. I need to have someone as a reviewer. So you have that, and then you have the self review, and then you have a peer review. You can have it with seniors and even juniors also, it is fine. And then you present the architecture also, like it need not be the good tool, and then even if you just draw something and then for review, that is fine. You just present it and get the feedback, and then you can do it. And then if there are something some clarity is not there, or there are some discussion on the various tools and other things, solution, you can do a brainstorming session, and then you can do some pilot prototype kind of thing, and then proof of concept, and then you can demonstrate. And finally, like you need to have a technical solution demonstrated to the customer, and it need to be reviewed and then sign up. Some organization, they have the architecture team from the customer side also. So they will be having an architect team, and then in that case, like it need to be like internal architecture review need to be done, and then it need to be presented to the business. And as I told you, like you need to have the 3 fitness: the technical fitness, and then the business fitness, and then the financial fitness. Okay. Yeah. Next slide, Ashok. So we are done with it, right? So technology. So technology, like you need to identify the constraints, and then I told you, budget, time, skill set. Suppose if you're for developing particular any of the component, right? So you have identified the special skill. Okay. So you need to see like do you have that skills in your organization, or if it is if that skill is new, does that skill have the does the technology have the learning? You have documentation. We have to decide. You have to consider those aspects also. Okay, and then you list all the choices, and then you do a selection. So as I told, the fitness you need to do, and these are all the things I have to store. And then you need to compare the industry standard. Current industry standard. Maybe you should not consider the industry standard which was 1 or 5 years ago. So you have to be up to date, and then you have to check the current industry standard. So you can get help from vendors, and then you can get help from different partners, and then you can get aligned. Okay. Yeah. Next slide, Ashok. And it's architect responsibility to plan for a training. If you see like there is a rare skill, and then you also need to have you need to plan for the how do we train our resources on that. Okay, I think we're almost done. This is the final thing. Like these are the solution architect as part of the architect basics. These are the do's and don'ts. Most of the thing I would have already covered. So let us just quickly walk through that. So make sure you understand the requirements and can cater all constraints along with the functional requirement and then the non-functional requirements. You need to understand the requirement, and then I told you, right, you need to have the assumption, constraints, and then other thing. You need to know like what are all the constraints. You have to define what are all the constraints. And if identify the risk, like you should not say like, oh, this is the constraint, this is the risk. You have to tell what is the mitigation plan, what is the other option. Okay, we should not go to the business, say that okay, this is the risk I cannot do. Okay, what is the risk, what is the mitigation, what is the alternative. And remember that architecting is an iterative process. Yeah, it's not a like I just architect it and then leave it to no. That too now, right, in agile world, it's a iterative process. And there is also like we need to see how do we do architecture in agile, aligning with the team in a sprint. Those are all the things that we need to work. You can create a epic feature for architecture team separately, and you can work along with the team 1 or 2 sprints ahead. The architecture, and you identify the enablers, and then you work on that. It need to be provided by the team, by your team, 1 or 2 sprints ahead. You work on that part, so that the actual sprint will not get impacted because of the technical issues or the capability. And again, architecting is a group activity, right? So you form a team, you form an architecture team, and then you work as a thing, and then you share your architecture activities. If one architect is doing this thing and others, you can just share the thing to other architects, so that they also get familiar with it. Try out quick prototype. Yeah, I told that we have to, for this only we need to have a cloud environment to do some prototype and other things. So if you are having 3 options, I need to do a prototype for all the 3 options, and I need to provide the justification, the practical justification of that tools or the product. Get help from vendors. I told you already. So they are the experts. If you see the vendors and products are the experts, you get help from them. And because we are not there to reinvent the wheel, right? So we can get the best practices, and then do's and don'ts, and what are the lessons learned, and what are all the use cases they have done for different projects. You can get, and you can align that. And always compare your solutions to the industry standards wherever applicable, and align that with your organization standards. So your organization also will be having these standards, right? So you have to check your solutions with the industry standards, and then get aligned with your organizations. Organizations, you will be only owning it, right? So you just check with it. If it's a huge organization, you have to just work with the other team on the thing. So because there should not be you just compare with industry standard, and you do some tool, and if it is against your organization standard, then it will be an issue. Be transparent and honest with your customer. Yes, so this is very, very important. So we should not overcommit to them, and then whatever the challenges that we face with respect to the architecting, we have to be transparent to the customer. And then if we commit that, okay, we'll be completing this thing by this time, and if there are any challenges, the technical challenges, we just tell them upfront. And it should always be finalized after discussion with the customer. Yes, correct, we will do that. The don'ts, I just mentioned only 2 things. Like one is like we don't afraid to ask questions. So we ask a lot of questions. There are different ways to ask questions. Rather than asking the questions, we have to tell what is your understanding. This is what my understanding. So is it right? So rather than asking a question, some business, they will get frustrated when we keep asking the questions. So we need to present our understanding, and then we can also add our assumptions, and then consider, these are all my assumptions, these are all my understanding, these are all my constraints, these are all the thing I feel it's a risk. So can you please help? So they'll be able to explain you. And don't reinvent the wheel. So that's what I told you. It will be reusable, and if it is anything is already available, we use that. Next slide, Ashok. Yeah, I'm done.
If you find the content on this channel helpful, consider subscribing and leave a like for this video. Thank you.